So this whole point of applying the same formulations we apply to getting a job or moving up the corporate ladder or something like that, advancing our career or getting better at a sport, you can't apply that logic to what you are. And why are we constantly keep on applying to it? Because in a sense, we fall under a mental process that's in the act of being identified as a self, yes? So the mental process is constantly in, it's a verb, it's an activity, it's constantly in the act of being identified as a self. So when the mental state claims the thinking, it uses the thinking to imply the thinker, because that supports and reinforces the act of being identified as a self, yes? Because the self is the idea that you're the proprietor, you're the doer, you're the haver, you're a separate independent entity, yes? You're an island unto yourself. And it can't come up with that sense, but it can be reinforced by claiming other activities. And that's what the mental process does. The mental process claims thinking, feeling, and actions to imply the thinker, the feeler, the actor. That's basically it, yeah? Now, if you're listening to that, and you're going to hear the act of being identified as a self, you're going to hear thoughts, you're going to have feelings, that's going to happen, but there's a difference in hearing and listening. And what happens is, when you're identified as this story, as Paul or Jim or Amelia or Charlie, then you're interested in what is talking about that story. You're interested in what that story is all about, which is, so the feelings are quite interesting to you, not only because they're feelings, but they imply you're the feeler. Yes, you're the feeler of the feelings. You're the thinker of the thoughts. And so a lot of people will try to work on thoughts, but they never question who's the thinker. If you see you're not the thinker, you'll lose interest in thoughts. Yeah. But you can't lose interest in thoughts as a thought. You can't get interested in losing interest. It's not going to work. You just lose interest because it's not about you. The narration that's going on in your head is not about you. It's about a you, an idea of you, yeah, an image of you, but it's not about you. Like Jesus supposedly said, who knows what he said, but he says, you're in this world, but you're not of this world. It's a quite beautiful negation, because we know what it's like to be in this world, yeah? From this, false reference. We know that life is seen as it's happening to me, that everything that happens, I see how it pertains to me. That's self-centeredness. That's being in this world, but we're not of this world. So we are not of self. We are not of a long-lasting, independent, separate entity. We are not of the thinker. We are not of the feeler. We are not of the doer. It's being of the doer that the doing incarcerates you. Being of the thinker, then the thoughts can ruin your day. Being of the feeler, then the feelings can ruin your life. Yes? When you were a kid, did thoughts ruin your day? From 1 to 3, if you were in an abusive situation, did thoughts that were happening ruin your day? What happened? Did the thoughts get stronger? The thoughts are just thoughts. It's the thinker that gives the meaning to the thoughts. And if you believe the thoughts are yours, the thoughts now can own you. And I see it all freaking day. People constantly thinking about going to Hawaii while they're in New Jersey. When they get to Hawaii, all they think about is the job in New Jersey. They can't seem to align, yeah? They want their thoughts to give them a freaking break. Please, please, I have an important date tomorrow. Can you just turn off at 11 p.m.? You can start back up at 8 a.m., but just 9 hours, give me some sleep, and you're up at 2 in the morning, 4 in the morning. It seems like what you're claiming to be yours doesn't listen to you at all. There's a solution. The solution is not being free from thought. The solution is losing interest in the thinker. That's where the solution lies. If you have to be free from thought, then every thought you got to go through an act of trying to be free from. If you're not the thinker, you'll lose interest in the thoughts, all of the thoughts. Yeah. Feelings will come and go. Feelings will not stay and be used to imply and write a freaking huge story about the feeling. Yeah? They'll come and go just like everything else does. And selfing comes and goes. And selfing can get interrupted if you have a traumatic event, if you hit your head on a wall, or you have a peak experience of love or something. The selfing stops. What continues when the selfing stops? What's there when that which is implying you stops implying you? There's still you. There's still what you are there, but not as a thing. Not as an image, not as an idea, but as awareness, but as beingness, but as onness. That's us. That's us. We are of that. We may be in thoughts, we may be in feelings, we may be in actions, but we're not of thoughts, of feelings, and of actions. Try to see the difference. That's where the relief lies. The relief is not gaining interest in freedom. The relief is losing interest in the need to be free because you're not that which needs to be free. That's the freedom. The freedom is from. It's not for you, it's from you. It's all misdirected. We keep applying the same logic we apply to getting a latte, to getting a spiritual fucking result. You can't, because you're missing one important point. You are what you're looking for. The only possibility we have concerning us is being us. Being us. Not thinking, not feeling, but being us. Yeah? That's why nothing freaking works. Because it's supposed to tell us it doesn't work. What does a failed system show you? That it's failed. That's what it does. How much has there been a reliance on the thoughts to lead you to happy, joyous, and freedom? Has it? Has anything you've gotten through its mechanisms lasted? So you come in here, a lot of us, I would say in this room, there's maybe 200 years of earnest spiritual seeking in this room, at least. I'd say maybe up to 400 years. 400 years. And where are you? But here today. If your seeking would have worked, you wouldn't be here. When I heard this message and it was entertained, it has become over time the last answer. It's negated any need for any other answer. That's a damn good answer. I am not wasting 1 second looking for what can't be found. No freaking way. I don't get gypped at all. I'm in every freaking moment because I haven't believed the insane idea you could be out of a moment. We've never been out of any moment we've ever been in. It's impossible. We are the moment. So I'm not trying to get out of what I can't be in. I'm not trying to get into what I can't be out. I'm not trying to find what cannot be found. It's that simple, really. And what are you left with here and now? All your mythical arrival dates will be here and now. Every place you've ever departed was here and now. The journey's going to end here and now. Just where it began, here and now. So basically nothing ever happened. I was here the worst day of my life. I'm here the best day of my life. It doesn't really, you would think the worst day of your life would have turned off all the lights, but it doesn't. You're still seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, touching. You'd rather be turned off. You like to take a pill and knock yourself out because you don't want to be awake. And that's the thing we need to admit. We don't want to be awake. Who would watch Die Hard 12? Fucking after the first 11 sucked. I mean, something's wrong with us that we have cable with 1,000 channels and you can't find anything of worth in all those channels. It's like an empty fucking charade here, but we're so scared to be to be just right where we are. We'll take any fucking pacifier. It's like slavery, really. So Zen, they would say, you'll see blue is blue, red is red. It's sort of like that. The simplicity of it is so gorgeous. You're not trying to get out of what you can't be in. So you are not getting out of self because you cannot be in self. You're not trying to get into the moment because you can't be out of the moment. You're not spending any time looking for what can't be found because you are what's looking. And you study everything about what you're not. You're not wasting 1 second studying about what you are because you can't study what you are. You're the studying. That's the problem with science. They can study everything else, but they can't study what's studying. They can't separate themselves to study what's studying. No matter how far back we go, what we are still precedes the whole fucking charade, doesn't it? We can't get back. We can't get before that which we are. That's the gorgeousness of it. And the problem is we go down to the end of the road and then we back up and we drive down again. Just fucking stop and get out of the car. You're at the end of the road. This is the last house. Move in. You know what I mean? Start entertaining. This is it. This is the depth of consciousness right now. This is it. Marin City, in an ammonia-soaked room. This is the best it's going to get right this second. What finds this offensive is not you. What finds this intolerable is not you. How many things do you thought were intolerable that you saw, but you still saw it all? Yeah? The seeing didn't close off. The seeing, the hearing, I've heard terrible freaking things, but I still heard them. Yeah? The hearing is not discriminating. It has no volition. We're just on. And a lot of us spend most of our day trying to dim it down. Like this lady shared at a meeting I was at yesterday, and she's talking about, she had this teacher, and the teacher was telling her, you can't be for or against, yeah? Try that. Try as what you're not to be for and against. The whole structure is for and against. It's all comparison. Not to be for or against is not something you do, it's an effect. When mind changes, you'll find yourself not for or against anything. Yeah? But you could never arrive at not being for or against. It's impossible. This is split. This is yes and no. This is, you can be thoroughly convinced and then unconvinced in 1 minute. All of these things that people are trying to arrive at are expressions of where you're already at when you and I get out of the fucking way. This is what happens. You find yourself many moments not against or for anything. Yeah? You cease fighting everything. Yeah? You've been placed in a position of neutrality with no thought or effort on your part. Those are expressions. Those are states that you could never arrive at because you don't even know they exist. How could you find that state that you don't even know they exist? They have to be revealed. When something gets moved out of the way, and that something is your big freaking head, yeah? Then you'll see the movie in a whole new light. When there's a loss of interest in, I don't mean loss of interest in love and my friends, I mean the loss of interest in the freaking story up here, yeah? The ongoing saga that only you are subscribed to. No one else is following your life story, pretty much. You're in a little porno theater by yourself. You cannot get relief by wanting relief. You lose interest in getting relief, and that's the relief. You lose interest in trying to accept and admit you cannot accept, and then acceptance shows up. Yeah? You let the failed system be revealed as completely failed because it is. And then something else gets traction. And you'll know the tree by its fruits. You can't know the tree because you are the tree. You'll know the tree by its fruits. Roots. What are fruits? Not its roots. You'll know the tree by its roots. That's how you get a sense of what you are by its expression. You can't know what you are. You can't experience it. You're experiencing everything else from it. Yeah? You can only get intimations. You can only get a sense of it. Yeah? And how the sense really works is you see what you're not, and then there's an intimation of what you are. Instead of having all that you're not, trying to focus on what you are, which is all about what you're not, you see what you're not, and that's the sense of being what you are. And now there's a sense of presence. You feel a space around. Like a freaking crackling space. You're awake to being awake. You could never produce, if you were unawake, there's no fucking way you'd ever become awake. There's no freaking way. There's no magic trick that's going to make what's unawake awake. There's no magic trick that's going to make a non-existent thing an existent thing. Yeah? But you are awake. We are all awake. But we just don't think so. The thought has superseded and made something after us that implies it's before us. So now your own nature you think is a quality that you have. I'm aware. You're not aware. You're a fucking dead, non-existent thing. Awareness is moving through. But we say, I'm aware. You're not aware. We think mind appears in us, but this appears in mind. This is the mind is dreaming this. Yeah. To me, it's all direction, and it's all misdirected. So much of my life, I remember I was in recovery from alcohol and drugs. Still am. It was about my 9th year. And then there was a statement in the big book of recovery which says, being convinced, which means that's a present tense activity, being convinced. Yeah. That self, this small s, meaning this idea of being Paul and the whole story, yeah, is what has defeated us. Us, we're the us, and then there's self. It doesn't say selves have defeated us. There aren't selves. There's a sense of self that we are all having, yeah? And that one, let's say GPS or foreign installment or parasitical movement is now infected all of us, all the hosts. So all the hosts think they're the parasite. So they can never see that they're being attacked by a foreign installment. So all they can hope for is when they hope for freedom from it, they are hoping for freedom as it. Because they don't know you're in the act of being identified as the thing that's draining your fucking life away. Then people kill themselves because they're so sick and tired, but they haven't seen that it's something foreign to them, so they believe the whole show has to shut down. They kill themselves to get freedom from that, which is not of them. Yeah. Only through mistaken identity, you'll go down with the freaking ship instead of abandoning the ship. You can abandon self and you're still going to be there. What is there, like St. Francis says, it's in self-forgetting. What's there when self is forgotten? You, yes? Who was there to come back and say, oh, I lost myself in that experience? There must have been someone there to recognize that there was a loss of self. What was that? Maybe we're starting our life from a wrong starting point. Maybe things would seem so much clearer if you could actually see from square zero instead of square four. After the whole game has started. Maybe you could see it from square zero and the game would make much more sense to you than the way it's making sense to you now. It's happened with me. I've traveled lighter now for years as this action figure. You know, when I was searching for something as this action figure, I wanted all my troubles to be gone. That isn't what's happened. I've just lost interest in the one who has all the troubles. Yeah. So it's allowed me to travel lighter from getting fired or getting run over by cars or this and that, watching people I love have cancer, all that stuff. I've traveled lighter over it all. And after years of traveling lighter, this thing, the greatest refrain it has is, hey, that's been more than enough, man. It's been an incredible gift. Not one that $3 million was poured on my lap in a second, but just the leavening of day after day after day of traveling lighter through years of opportunities and possibilities, yeah, has been incredibly like gold. Yeah? And no one would see it. They wouldn't see your bank account getting fat. They wouldn't see maybe you don't have a loving gaze or shit like that. It doesn't matter. You're satisfied and content. Yeah? You never get gypped, ever. You're never wanting to be anywhere else other than where you find yourself. The head may want to, but you're not the head. That's the beautiful news. Can you blame the radio for the music that's being played through it? Can you blame the radio for the music that's being played through it? Of course not. You would just change the channel. What happens if we become identified as the channel? Then we end up hating the radio. It has nothing to do with the radio. It's just doing what it does. Its nature is to play. That's what it's doing. It's playing what's ever available. This possibility is the channel can be changed. Yeah. Again, you won't be looking for what can't be freaking found. You won't be trying to get out of what you're not in. And I do not believe you were ever, nor will you ever be, in a self. So it's all seemingly so, this place, you know? The word seemingly in English, it means it appears to be true or false to us. That's the whole event here. You are the reality in a sense. You're giving everything all the meaning it has. Yeah? You and I are the reality. We're the reality of when false evidence appears real to what's real, it seems as real can be. It's amazing how something on Friday can seem so real and then Saturday you see right through it. Did it change or did you change? Did that thing that was called the worst thing that ever happened to you, and then after a few months is now seen as the best thing, did it go through a huge transformation from the worst thing to the best thing? No. It was how you were. That was what gave the meaning to that, yeah? You think that's a random event? It's happening all day. That's what's happening here. We're reality, like it or not. We like to be in unreality, but we can't get that fucking stubbornness to stop being reality, you know? We're seeing, feeling, tasting, touching. All I want to do is be totally obsessed with me all day. And the seeing, hearing, feeling, tasting, and touching just keeps intervening. The light just bright, because you're the light. This is the humble statements of great, great masters, you know. One of the greatest is Huang Po, a great Zen master from China. He says, hey, brother and sister, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. You think, what do you think this guy was a sadist? He just wants you to suffer? Why would he tell Paul that? To Paul, it makes a lot of sense to seek the Buddha. I've been practicing Buddhism for 30 years. I've been seeking the Buddha. And then this guy comes and says, hey, you can't use the Buddha to seek the Buddha. Hey, if the shoe fits, wear it. Oh, what? Yeah. You can't use light to seek light. You can't use big M mind or awareness to be aware of awareness. You can't use it. Yeah. You can do it forever and nothing's going to happen. So maybe, just maybe, you're the Buddha and you're in the process, the seeming dream of looking for yourself. Good luck finding it. Because you are what's looking. The Buddha is looking for the Buddha. Once the Buddha hears that, and I don't mean Paul hears it. Paul hears it, it still thinks, oh, that makes a lot of sense to look for the Buddha. But if the Buddha hears it, what? I'm not that Paul? That's the end of the search for the Buddha. Let's get on with it. Have a good Saturday. The real freedom is from the need to be liberated. That's the freedom. Because that which needs to be liberated, you are not. Yeah? You do not need liberation. There's no way you can transcend an imaginary place. You can't. You're not getting out of here. As long as this was here, you're here. You, as this, is never getting out of here. You're not going to appear as a 6'2", thinny old dude in heaven. You ain't going up to heaven as this. There'll be no New York Yankee team there to follow. None of it. The whole package gets erased as if it never happened. You believe you're obvious, really? Do you? Do you believe really your eyes are seeing anything right now? They facilitate something, but they don't see anything. What is that that's seeing? What's that that's hearing? What's that that's feeling, tasting, touching? What is that? It doesn't seem to follow your commands. Yeah? You don't seem to have any volition concerning it, yet without it there'd be no life whatsoever. I would say that's you. That's the hand, and you've been taking yourself to be the glove. If you realize you're not the glove, you could just come out like that. You wouldn't need a crowbar and pry it off. It would just slip right out. Seriously. But we want to become, we want the glove to go with us, and that doesn't work. We used to tell this story. We used to use the idea of there's only one sense in this world, and the sense is feel. Yeah. So the only way you can know anything in this world would be feeling. All right, and then in this world they have scriptures of like what heaven would be like, which would be a feeling event, which is, it's like feeling, rolling around in like a giant pool of rose petals, yeah? The softness, everything, that's nirvana, that's heaven. So you read the book, but you have this very crude, rough glove on. So every time you touch anything, it gets translated through the glove, yeah? And it feels like rough and crude. You feel a baby's ass, and everyone described how lovely it is, but it feels rough and crude. Everything you touch never gets through to you because it goes through the glove, and the glove interprets it by the glove, yeah? And so you get to heaven, seemingly, and you jump in that pool, but you don't freaking feel anything except crude and rough because the glove is on. What would happen? What's animating the glove? The glove ain't. If you could see you're not that, the glove, then the possibility of being out of the glove would become available, and you just go out of the glove. Yeah. And you realize once you got out of the glove, you were never the glove, you were never going to be the glove, you were never the glove. Yeah? It's like that. It erases all the reality of the glove in a nanosecond. In like no time at all. Yeah? Yeah. So there you go. That's that. This is an invitation. If someone talks about this for 6 hours, you should leave after about 40 minutes. It's way too much. This is not a dissertation. I have too much faith for what you are. You don't need a lot. You don't need intensives. You don't need retreats. This place is intense enough already, yeah? This world. Just entertain the possibility, and if the fruits start falling, and you partake of them, you'll know the tree. Yeah, and just stay underneath that tree. So, yes, that's it. Any questions?
Yeah, can you talk about the group? I mean, you talked about it, but the mind, you know, the difference between a thought and my thought, money and my money. idea, my idea.
Well, don't you feel it?
Yeah.
Yes? Take a topic that's important to you right now, yeah? Let's say health or something, and then feel it, and then put the word my in front of it and feel it. The weight's changed, right? You haven't changed the word health, but the my changes the weight of the health, yeah? If it's your health, there's a lot of concern about it. Yes? Money, same thing. I wish all of you have a lot of money, but I don't put the my in front of it. I don't want you to have any of my money. Same money, but the whole intention around it is different. That's us. That's the mental process's role here. It doesn't change what's happening. It weighs it down, the my. Yeah. The thoughts are thoughts. They're going to arise, but the my changes the thought. It's like this, you know, here's a bottle. Everyone sees the bottle. Now I'm going to change its purpose, my bottle. So now the bottle is implying there's someone who owns the bottle. Thoughts, my thoughts. That's all it is, yeah? You see it? Thoughts coming, but then when you're holding them to be yours, they're all pointing to the thinker. Feelings, yes, feeler, yeah? There's a huge leap. Feelings, yes. But there's an impliedness that doesn't actually happen, which is the feeler, yeah? There's no feeler, but the feeler is seemingly made by the feelings, yeah? The feelings being claimed by the mental process are used to imply there's a real feeler, but then you never really feel the feeler, you feel feelings. But the feelings are used to imply the feeler. The same thing, thoughts, yeah? But then my thoughts. Your attention and interest on thoughts would be like, let's say if there was thoughts about Stanley and you're not Stanley, they would be going here. And you would have no interest in thoughts that were pointing to 5 years ago or 10. I don't care what's going to happen to Stanley 10 years from now. So you'd have no interest when the thought would go, yes, but Stanley, how is he going to be in 2000? You have no interest because you're not Stanley. So the my would have no ability to pull you, yeah? But when the my implies the you that you're identified as, you're the gravitational pull. So here comes the comet, and it goes, and then you hold the thought in like a pull, an orbit around the idea of Paul as thinker, yeah? You're not holding it for other people, you're holding it for this planet Paul. Yeah? What would happen if you're not the planet Paul? What would happen if you're being troubled by a lot of moths and you've gotten great moth whackers and you get moth food and put it in other places? If you just took out the light bulb, the moths would disperse, yeah? They coagulate around the light. All this activity is being used to coagulate around an idea. And this idea, it's almost like when they move, like they whip it so much, there's a sense that there's something there. That's the sense of self. It's being made up every day. How? By claiming feelings, thoughts, and actions. It doesn't have a life, it sort of gets one. Yeah? By implying a story, and you get engaged in it. Like in Buddhism, they call it the cherishing of self. Yeah? It's as simple as that. The other one was Narcissus looking in the pool of water and falling in love with his reflection, and he falls in and drowns, right? Well, we're in the pool already, pond. We're drowning. But what we're doing is looking at a pond with that happening and being obsessed with that. And then on and on and on. It's like that old thing we used to use with Monty Python. There was, this comedy group from England. They're wearing like all this African gear and safari hats, and they come out of the bushes in a London park, and they're dying of thirst, and they have no food, and what's going to happen? And one of them says, hey, there's a film crew filming us. And suddenly the picture opens up, and there's the film crew. They have sandwiches and water. Oh, we're saved. But then you could go like this, and then there's a film crew filming that, and on and on and on. See, you never start, therefore you never stop. Yeah? You don't begin. And therefore you don't end. Yeah? So, whatever. That's it. Turn off the thing.
Great.